Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to the Town of Fort Erie Committee of Adjustment meeting of September 23rd, 2021. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. I will now call this meeting to order. First, I would like to introduce you to the committee members and staff. First, we have Terry Moore, who's a committee member. We have David Gianfrancisco, also a committee member. Kara Rach, Secretary Treasurer, who will be recording the minutes of tonight's meeting. Brianna Antonio, Secretary Treasurer, who will be observing tonight's meeting. Mackenzie Cece, who is hosting the meeting host, who will be doing the background technical duties, and myself, who is the chair for tonight's meeting. To those of the public who may be participating electronically in the public portion of tonight's meeting, you may wish to put your view on the gallery view by clicking the top right corner from speaker view. I also ask that you are mindful of background noise for the duration of the meeting. Please note that participating members of the public will remain in the virtual waiting room via telephone or electronically until they are called upon during the public meeting. This is a statutory meeting under the Planning Act for the purposes of considering both minor variance and consent applications. Members of the committee have been provided with all written comments received by agencies and the public prior to this meeting. Committee members are asked to mute their microphone until you are asked to speak. Please raise your hand if you would like to speak and vote by raising your hand. The purpose of the meeting is to obtain input from residents relatives to the application. Those participating online via Zoom will be asked to raise the virtual hand when they wish to speak. On the computer, you can do so by clicking on participants on the bottom center of the screen and then by clicking raise hand. On a mobile device, you can tap more on the bottom right and tap raise hand. You will then be brought into the meeting by staff. You can then unmute yourself and start your video by using the buttons on your screen. If you are participating by phone and you wish to raise your hand, press *9 and you will be unmuted by staff. Next, we will hear from the applicant or agent, then from those in support of or opposition of the application or to ask questions. We ask that each attendee keep their comments to under 10 minutes to allow all attendees the opportunity to speak. Applicants and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar once a decision has been made on their application. Each application will proceed in the following order. First, the Secretary Treasurer will summarize the purpose and effect of the application and any comments received. Second, the applicant will be called upon to speak and make any further comments. Third, the committee members will ask questions of the applicant. Fourth, the public will be asked to speak one at a time. We'll ask the public to state their full name and address for the record and any comments they may have towards the application. Fifth, the chair will close the application once all comments have been heard. And then lastly, the committee members will make a decision on the application, whether that's approved, refused, or deferred, and state if any conditions apply. Please address your comments and questions directly through the chair. Each application, we do have a slight change in the order in the agenda tonight, but Kara will comment on that at the time. Okay. The notice of decisions will be provided to all applicants stating the outcome of the hearing and any conditions of approval if required. Please note that correspondence and comments received this evening are restricted to the matters of the Committee of Adjustment and the Planning Act. In considering each application this evening, the Committee of Adjustment will have due regard to the provisions of Section 45 and Section 53 of the Ontario Planning Act of 1990 as amended. A 20-day appeal period exists for each application heard this evening. Final appeal dates are noted on the notice of decision and are available by requesting a copy in writing. I will begin by asking committee members present if they have any conflicts of interest with respect to any of the applications to be heard this evening. Terry, do you have any?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Thank you. David?
I do not.
Nor do I. I will now ask Secretary Treasurer if notice of this meeting was properly given in accordance with the provisions of the Ontario Planning Act.
Yes, all the applications were circulated to all abutting properties within 60 meters of each application, and signs were posted on each property as per Planning Act regulations.
Thank you. And have you received any requests for adjournment or withdrawal respecting any of tonight's applications?
No, we have not, Madam Chair.
Okay, so now we'll proceed with our agenda for tonight. And I believe there is a slight change with the first one. He's held up for a few minutes, so we are going to start with the second application that is on our agenda, and that is consent file number B31/21 and minor variance files A5621 and A5721. Are the applicants, Patricia Kent, ready to proceed for tonight?
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Video is not working. No, I can't possibly explain why, but at least you can hear us. We're
We
here.
can hear you.
Maybe it's better if you can't see me. Okay.
Sarah, would you please read a summary of the related correspondence and comments received?
Certainly. This application proposes the creation of a new residential lot on the Severn Sketch in the Spears High Point neighborhood. The retained parcel is described and contains a single attached dwelling and is an accessory structure known as 1386 Garrison Road. Both the retained and the proposed lots do not meet the lot frontage requirements, and the applicant has submitted two concurrent minor variance applications, A56 and A57, to address any zoning deficiencies. Part 1 will also be subject to infill lot regulations for future development. The applicant had previously submitted a consent application B1721 to create a new residential lot fronting onto Pound Avenue. The application was approved by the committee on June 17, 2021. Recently, the applicant has submitted a request to withdraw B1721. As the application has been withdrawn by the applicant, the previous approval granted by the committee is no longer valid. The creation of a residential lot in an urban area demonstrates efficient use of land and resources in accordance with the provincial policy statement and regional and town official plans, and is considered good planning. As per the town's official plan, residential intensification, infill development, and redevelopment is encouraged in an urban area that has sufficient existing or planned infrastructure. Planning staff have no objection to the consent application, subject to the following conditions. The final approval of minor variance applications A56 and A57, that the applicant installs a new driveway and provides one parking space on the future dwelling on part 1, that the applicant provides a parking space on part 2, that 5% of cash in the parkland dedication for the town is submitted, that a reference plan is submitted, and that the final consent fee is paid to the town as well. Infrastructure reviewed and have requested that an overall lot grading plan on part 1 is to be submitted. Building staff have reviewed the application and have requested that a spatial separation plan be submitted that conforms to the Ontario Building Code for the east wall of the existing dwelling for approval by the chief building official. And the region also submitted that they had no objections. However, they wanted the applicant to be aware that at future development, there will be some requirements for a building permit, including regional construction encroachment permits, site servicing, and as well that any new purchase and sale of lease agreements for the property should note any of the comments that are included in their comments. No further comments or objections were received from staff, agencies, or the public. That concludes your consent application with 8 conditions of consent as noted. I will now turn into the minor variance A56 and A57. The purpose and effect of these applications is to permit a reduction to the minimum lot frontage for both parcels, interior side yard setback for the existing dwelling, and exterior side yard for the existing dwelling. The applicant has also submitted the concurrent application for consent, which we have already reviewed. Planning Act requires that any minor variance applications must meet 4 tests, and that the variance is minor, that the variance is desirable and appropriate for the lands, that it meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plan, which is in this instance part of a secondary plan, the Spears High Point secondary plan. Planning staff have concluded that this application does meet the 4 tests with 0 conditions required. No comments or objections received from any other staff or agencies or the public with regards to the minor variance, and that concludes.
Thank you. Mr. or Mrs. Kent, do you have any, like to make any comments on the application before us or any of the correspondence received tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that as far as the drawing showing the east and from the building official Keegan, we've already had the drawing done, and he said hold off on giving it to me until after the consent hearing, but we're just letting you know that that's been done for him. So I guess we'll just send it in right after tomorrow,
Okay.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really have any other comments. I did want to just mention the parking space. That's okay. It's not sure what to do if we hadn't made a firm decision whether to keep it or sell it, whatever. But to create a parking space on the new lot, that's okay. It's just a bit confusing as far as, you know, why are we having to do that at this point as part of the conditions? It struck me as a bit unusual. You must have your reasons, I guess. I'm not sure what department even made that condition.
It was the the senior development planner.
Right. Well, the reason I ask, and I'll try and be brief, is that let's say we sell it and somebody is going to build a bungalow or something there. The location of the driveway then will, if it's coming in and there's a parking space, we'll have already decided for that person. That's the only thing I wondered about, is I guess that's just the way it is then. Because it has to come in off Garrison Road. So if they don't like it, well, I guess that's just, sorry, that's where you have to drive in. That's about it then.
Okay. Thank you.
Just wondered. Okay.
Sorry, thank you. David, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No, I do not.
Carrie, do you have any questions of the applicant?
I do. I have a question. The region mentioning the fact that you can't hook up to the water main or the main line on Garrison Road. Is that an issue for you?
No, it's not. We had discussions that started with the region with Lola, who was very helpful. And then Jerry Arts at the town, who really solved it for us, saying, yes, you do something. There's already a sewer connection right in the lot to be created. So it just leaves the water. And Jerry helped determine, and also to the region's satisfaction, that we do something called directional boring. If you've heard the term, I don't know, but we go under Garrison to the town's smaller water main on the other side of Garrison. And then that brings the water in. And it's all, we've talked to, Jerry recommended a company which can do that and what the cost would be. The estimate is about 10 to 15,000, and that's workable. So it's all doable, and everybody knows what's going on. So, but that's not to be done until somebody's, you know, I think it's, what's the, Darren, no, Spencer Pierce. Yeah, he said, no, don't do that now. You do that when you apply for, you know, the building permit comes first. So we had a big learning curve here. But to answer your question, yes, it's all been looked into in great detail to the region's satisfaction, and that's where we are.
Thank you. It seems to me the driveway would be better addressed at the building permit stage as well.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I'm really puzzled at that, but
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with that the driveway should be addressed that way? Who do we talk to?
Yeah, if it seems to you that way, Terry, then we never want to make waves. It's just, is there something that should we talk it over with somebody in the town again in the planning or something, or should we just say, no, well, whatever, you know? What do you recommend? Anybody?
Well, in order for the consent, if we go with the conditions with planning staff as laid out, you will have to talk to the planning staff as to what the requirements are to show that parking space.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if it was on the sketch that you gave for Severance to show an appropriately sized footprint for where the proposed footprint based on the setbacks, and then a proposal of where the parking driveway would be.
Yeah, it never was though. We weren't asked, nor did we indicate.
No, that's something that they're asking for now. If the consent, that's a condition of the consent. If that.
Okay. Sure, we'll go right ahead with that, but they're just asking the questions, and if somebody has a change of heart about that and says in planning and says, well, wait a minute, we'll change our mind about that condition later. Well, I don't know how that would work, but that's fine. We'll just carry on with how it has to be done.
Karen, did you have a kind of look like you might want to say something? Did you want to say anything about the parking?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also have to, you're cutting in a little bit.
Okay.
The parking, these comments were provided to the applicant last week. So I think if they had any questions about the conditions, they probably should have addressed it prior to tonight. The driveways are a current zone. Every property does need a driveway. So I think it's it's up to the committee, of course. However, I do feel that it is necessary that driveways each property will require a driveway, and that's, it's on a regional road. I'm sure planning staff is just wanting to ensure that where the applicant is proposing is going to meet regional standards as well as town standards. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
And you've had discussions with Spencer and Lola, and you probably are well aware of what's involved in this. It sounds like
Yes.
I've talked to them a little bit about it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And you're right. We did have time, and I don't know, life gets in the way. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I just saw in the chat that people are having trouble hearing me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you just give me 1 second? I'm going to make sure that my computer is the only thing that's accessing the internet.
Okay.
We pause for a minute.
Yep, of course we can.
Yeah.
We're gonna, at my household here, some people are turning off some of their streaming devices, so hopefully it is better. So far, a little better.
Yeah, and
Much
if you're
better, actually.
closer, we find if you're closer as well, it seems a bit better.
Okay.
It's funny, just since you got that new laptop, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so is there anybody in the audience who wishes to comment on the application?
So at this time, I'll invite anyone in the audience to raise their virtual hand. For those joining by computer, laptop, or mobile device, you can do this by pressing the raise hand button. And to do this, click on the icon labeled participants at the bottom center of your computer or phone screen. And at the bottom of the window, click the button labeled raise hand. So I'll just give a moment. It looks like we do have one member of the public in the waiting room. Chair, I'm seeing no one that wishes to speak to this application.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the committee members have any further questions?
I do not, Madam Chair.
I do not, Madam Chair, either.
Nor do I. We'll state the public hearing portion of this file is now closed, and I'll ask the members present to express their views on the proposal. I'll start with David.
I'm going to be in favor of the consent file and the minor variance file. The creation of an infill lot, which is supported by the town, region, and province, and the minor variance file meets the 4 tests, and they are minor in nature, and I have no issue with that.
Terry?
I'll be voting in favor as well, Madam Chair. Further to what David said, it's an efficient use of land, and although the frontages don't quite meet zoning requirements, both the areas of both lots exceed the lot and will easily have a house.
Questions?
I do not, Madam Chair, either.
Nor do I. We'll state the public hearing portion of this file is now closed. And I'll ask the members to express their views on the proposal. What's, oh, okay. Okay, so I will now entertain a motion with conditions on these applications.
I'll put a motion for the consent file number B31 -21 be accepted by the Committee of Adjustment, considering all written and oral comments that were received this evening with conditions set forth in all the various agencies. And I'll also put
Do we want to do these? What if we do the consent first and then we'll do the minor variances together?
I'll second the first motion.
So I have a Terry, you seconded the motion?
I seconded, yes.
All in favor? So the motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. The decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. So now I will entertain a motion on the minor variance files.
I'll put a motion forward that minor variance file A56-21 and A57-21 be accepted by the Committee of Adjustment, considering all written and oral submissions this evening with any conditions set forth in the reports.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Okay. And all in favor? Your motion is carried. Your applications have been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. Decision will come final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. Thank you for attending tonight, Mr. and Mrs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
So Madam Chair, B30 is in the webinar now.
Okay. Now we'll go to the next file before us tonight, which is consent file B30/21. The address is 129 Cook Avenue. The applicant is 131440 Ontario Limited, Bob Cosby. The agent is Richard Halinda Law Professional Corporation, and the owner is Peggy Bowles. Are you ready to proceed tonight, Mr. Halinda? Are you ready to proceed tonight, Mr. Halinda?
So Madam
Yes,
Chair, B30
yes,
is
thank you
in
very
the
much. I am.
webinar now.
Okay, good. Sarah, will you please read the summary of the related correspondence and comments received?
Hello. This consent application proposes the creation of a new lot for future residential development. The retained lot is vacant and is proposed for future residential development. The new lot is also vacant and proposed for a future development as well. Part 3 is proposed to be dedicated to the town for a future daylight triangle. The amendment, there has been a zoning amendment file that has gone to council on this application on August 9th, 2021 to facilitate the creation of residential building lots. The zoning bylaw amendment was implemented some site-specific zoning to the R1 zoning and is currently in the appeal period, which will end on September 22nd. The creation of residential lots in the urban area demonstrates efficient use of land and resources in accordance with provincial policy statement and regional and town official plans, and is considered good planning. As per the town's official plan, residential intensification, infill development, and redevelopment is encouraged in the urban areas that have sufficient and existing planned infrastructure. Planning staff have no objection to this consent application, subject to the following conditions. That final approval of the amending zoning bylaw amendment is passed. The payment of 5% cash in the parkland dedication is paid to the town. That a reference plan is provided to the town, and the final consent fee. Infrastructure has reviewed the application and note that the applicant and owner must submit $1,500 to the town for 3 street trees. That an overall lot grading plan is required for approval for parts 1 and 2, and that a 4.5 by 4.5 meter daylighting triangle with clear title should be granted to the town. Bell Canada has asked that the owner applicant go into a blanket easement, subject to a blanket easement over the lands designated as 129 Cook, and the applicant can address that directly with Bell Canada as noted in the report to the committee. There are no further objections or comments received from staff, agencies, or the public, and that concludes the consent application with the 8 conditions noted previously.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Halinda, would you like to make any comments on the application or on any of the correspondence received tonight?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I think the application is fairly straightforward. We're trying to create one additional building lot. The town did require us to have specific zoning put in place for this particular property, which we have done. The appeal period expired yesterday. The conditions that have been set out there are fine with the applicant, and so we don't have any problems with that. Bell came in late yesterday with their requirement for a easement, which we have no problem with. And they've given an option, either a blanket easement over the whole property or a 3-meter wide easement across the back of the property where the line is. So we'll work that out with them, however that works out. But other than any questions you might have, those are my only comments.
Okay, thank you. Terry, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Just one quick one. I don't know whether you could answer it. Were there any appeals as of yesterday?
None that I'm aware of, no.
Thank you.
David, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No, I do not.
Nor do I. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment? Please raise your virtual hand and I'll ask you to speak one at a time.
Chair, I'm seeing no one that wishes to speak to this application.
And do the committee members have any further questions?
I do not, Madam Chair.
I do not either.
And Mr. Halinda, do you have any further comments?
No, I don't, but I thank you for your patience. I got tied up with Revenue Canada, who I've been trying to get hold of for a week, and so I appreciate you putting me down on the list.
No problem. And we'll consider the public hearing portion closed for this file. And I'll now ask the members present to express their views on the proposal. I'll start with Terry this time.
I'll be voting in favor, Madam Chair. It's an efficient use of land. It's consistent with the provincial policy statement. It meets the size requirements since it's actually site specifically zoned, and it's fully serviced.
Okay, thank you. And David?
I will also be in favor for this application tonight, and I'm in agreement with what Terry commented on just prior, so I'll have no issue with it.
And now entertain a motion for conditions on these applications.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, that consent application B3021 be approved based on all the oral and written submissions put in tonight with conditions as requested.
May I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor? The motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision, and the decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
So now we'll proceed with the next consent file, number B32/21. The address is 3237 Poplar Avenue. The applicant is Linda Johnston. Are you ready to proceed tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Carol, will you please read all the summary of the related correspondence and comments received?
This consent application proposes the creation of a new lot for a future residential development. The retained lot has an existing two-story dwelling and will continue its residential use. The new lot is proposed for a future residential development. Staff note that the new lot will not be subject to infill lot regulations and that part of the new lot is densely vegetated. Planning staff have no objection to this consent application, subject to the following conditions: 5% cash and real park on dedication, a reference plan, and a final consent fee. Infrastructure have reviewed the application and have no objections based on the conditions that the applicant submit $500 for the one tree and that an overall lot grading plan is submitted on parcel 1. That concludes your comments. There have been no further comments or objections from staff, agencies, or the public to date. That concludes with the 5 conditions previously noted.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson, would you like to make any comments on the application or the correspondence received?
I have no comment.
Do the committee members have any questions for the applicant, David?
I do not have any members or questions.
Carrie, do you have any questions of the applicant?
I have no questions, Madam Chair.
Nor do I. Does anyone in the audience wish to comment? Please raise your virtual hand and you will be asked in to speak one at a time.
Chair, I'm seeing no one that wishes to speak to this application.
As we have no comments, we will consider the public hearing portion closed. And I'll now ask the members present if they'd like to express their views on the proposal. I'll start with Terry.
I'll be voting in favor, Madam Chair. Both the new and retained parcel exceed minimum frontage and lot area requirements. It's fully serviced and it's an efficient use of land.
And David.
Will also be in favor of this consent file. It's the creation of another lot and it's supported by all agencies, so I have no issue with it.
I'll now entertain a motion with conditions on these applications.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, the consent application B3221 be approved based on all the oral and written submissions tonight with the conditions as requested.
May I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. Decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. And we thank you for attending this evening.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, so now we'll move on to consent files B3321 to B4021.
And just as a side note as well, while the applicant's coming in, there are, should be noted that there is a typo in the Committee of Adjustment report that some of them are stated as B41, that should be B40. There is no B41.
Okay, so this address is Schooley Road, Elizabeth subdivision. The applicant is UEM Greg Taras, and the owner is Crystal Beach Estates. Are you ready to proceed tonight?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Carol, will you please read all related correspondence and comments that we've received?
The subject lands are part of the Schooley Road Drafts Plan of Subdivision approved by Council on October 20th in 2006. An extension to the draft plan of condominium approval was recently granted on May 15th, 2022. The subject lands are a parkland block that was conveyed to the town as a condition of final condominium approval and held on interim basis by the town until a larger parkland block to the north of side of Elizabeth Road was acquired through a separate plan of subdivision. The owner of the lands is also a developer of the subdivision lands to the north. The larger parkland block was transferred to the town on June 19th, 2015. As a result, there's no longer a need to transfer the subject lands to the town. Parkland dedication requirements are fulfilled for both the Schooley Road condominium and the Elizabeth Road subdivision. Details of this parkland dedication transfer were outlined in staff report CDS 33, 2015, and approved by council at that time. If the subject consent applications are approved, the Schooley Road draft plan of condominium must be redlined to remove block 50 from the plan. This is a requested condition of approval. As noted, the owner of the subject lands is also the developer for the Elizabeth Road subdivision to the north. The lands that comprise the subdivision lands are part of a register plan of subdivision from 1924. The lands were never developed as a subdivision, and a subdivision agreement was not entered into the lands until 2018. As part of the approval of the 2018 subdivision agreement, Town Council agreed to the new lot configurations for this area, which increases the lot frontages in the subdivision from 12.2 meters to 15 meters and greater. Elizabeth Road would also not connect to Schooley Road, but would instead curve north to the former Cherrywood Avenue North Road allowance, connecting Rebstock Road. These changes were detailed in staff report PDS 62, 2018, which approved the subdivision agreement, and related engineering servicing of the lands is nearly complete. As per PDS 62, 2018, and the approved subdivision agreement for the lands, the reconfiguration of lots would occur by a combination of consent, removal of part law control, and deeming bylaws. The subject consent applications are the first step in the process. As part of the 1924 plan of subdivision, 5 lots have flankage on the south side of Elizabeth Road and will make up and lots 1, 31, 32, and 64 will make up the north portion of the new lots created by the subject boundary adjustment applications, which will have frontage on Elizabeth Road. The applicant will need to apply for removal of part lot control to reconfigure the subdivision lots and to divide lots 1, 31, 32, and 64. The subject consent applications propose boundary adjustments to create the future residential lots with frontage on Elizabeth Road. The zoning bylaw requirement for minimum lot frontage of the lands is 370 square meters, and the frontage is 14.7 meters. Several conditions of approval are required in order to facilitate the merging of each subject parcel in the respective part lots to the north. This includes removal of part lot control, stop-up and closure of road allowances, transfers of former road allowance, and transfers of road widenings. And these are outlined in the conclusion that was provided to the Committee of Adjustment in their final report, and which will be noted on the notice of decision, which will be provided to the applicant and anyone who requests it from the public. Planning staff have no objection to the consent application, subject to, as previously noted, a reference plan being submitted, final consent fees being submitted, approval of the red line revision, approval of all of the applications before us tonight, B34 to B40, and final consent certification of all as well. That undertakings are provided to allow for the merging of lands, that bylaws are provided to stop up and close Cherrywood Avenue, that confirmation of road widening on Elizabeth Road is gone through, that submission and approval of the part lot controls are submitted to the town, and each one of those applications also includes more detailed that have been submitted previously to all. That concludes our comments and objections from all staff and agencies. There have no been objections, and at this point, we've had no public comments. And that concludes the applications noted below from B33 to B40. And you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Faros, would you like to make any comments on the application or any correspondence received tonight?
I have nothing to add, Madam Chair.
Do committee members have any questions? I'll start with Terry. Terry, you're muted.
I apologize, I was muted. The services are already there, correct? For all these lots?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay, and they're based on the 49-foot frontages, not on the 40?
That is correct.
Okay, and the plan of the condo plan is gone? Is that correct too?
I'm not, through you, Madam Chair, I'm not sure what you mean by gone.
Well, was there a condominium plan registered at any point for this piece of land? The reason
Yes,
I'm asking, there used to be a sign, Dave Howard was selling condo lots, it would be at the south portion off Schooley Road. And that never came to be, is that correct?
through you, Madam Chair, I'm not sure the answer to that question. I wasn't involved I don't know at the time you're maybe suggesting this, and I'm not sure how it ties into these severance or these consent applications.
Okay, no, I was just trying to get an idea of where the subdivision was going because all the things described here have already been done, such as Elizabeth Road swooping up and going up to Rubstock Road. That's all. Time
Yeah.
frame seems weird to me, that's all.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, this, you could almost consider this almost as an administrative consent process in a sense. Is just to clean up some of the transfer of lands where the two properties adjoin.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
David, do you have any questions?
No, I do not, Madam Chair.
Nor do I. Is anyone in the audience who wishes to comment? Please raise your hand and we'll ask you to speak one at a time, please.
And just for our one member of the public who is in the waiting room, if you do wish to raise your virtual hand, you can do so by pressing the raise hand button. To do this, click on the icon labeled participants at the bottom center of your computer or phone screen. And at the bottom of the window, click the button labeled raise hand. So I'll just give them a moment. Chair, I'm seeing no one that wishes to speak to this application.
Seeing as we have no further questions or comments, I will declare the public hearing portion of this file now closed. And I'll ask the members present if they'll express their views on the proposal. David, would you like to go first, please?
I'm going to be in favor of this consent file, Madam Chair. This is basically boundary adjustments. So they're all supported by town staff, and it's, as the applicant said, it's just to clean up the legalities behind this. So I have no issue with it.
Thank you. And Terry?
I'll be voting in favor as well. It appears further to what Dave mentioned. It looks like it's just housekeeping, so I'll vote in favor.
I'll now entertain a motion with conditions on these applications.
I'm going to put a motion forward for all of them, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. I'm going to put a motion forward that consent file B33-21 through to B40-20 be accepted by the Committee of Adjustment tonight, considering all written and oral submissions that were set forth by town staff with all the conditions set forth in that report.
May I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
All in favor? So the motion is carried. Your application has been approved. You will receive written notice of the committee's decision. The decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. Thank you for attending tonight.
Thank you very much.
So now we'll proceed with the last application before us today is minor variance file A58/21. The address is 3806 Crystal Beach Drive. The applicant is Ridgeline Homes, Inc. Josh, forgive me if I'm not going to pronounce your last name correctly. Bresh. And the owner is Cindy Metzler. Are you ready to proceed tonight?
Chair, I did bring them into the meeting. It looks like they are either in the middle of being transferred in or they left. So we'll just give it a moment and see if they come back in, or if they do appear.
I will just try and call his cell phone real quick, if that's okay. He's just going to be calling in shortly, so. He was in the meeting the whole time and just lost it right when it was his turn, so very unfortunate for Zoom meetings.
Hello?
Hello.
I'm so sorry. I was here the whole time and then my internet just got cut out on me. I have one of these satellites that I'm only getting 2 megabytes a second, so
It's the way Zoom goes. I think unfortunately we can't control those things. So it's all good. It's worked out in the end. We'll proceed just in case it's a little bit choppy on your end. Through you, Madam Chair, would you like me to proceed with the comments or?
Sure, please.
Okay. The purpose and effect of this application is to permit an increase to the building height to facilitate the construction of a 2-story single detached dwelling with an attached garage. The Ontario Planning Act provides that a minor variance must meet the 4 tests to be considered minor in nature. That it's minor and supportable. It's minor in nature, that it's considered desirable and appropriate for the development of the land and the buildings, that it meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw, and that meets the general intent of the official plan. No comments have been received from the public at this time, and no objections or other conditions have been imposed by staff agencies. And no conditions have been requested by anyone as well. And that concludes your comments on that application.
Okay, thank you. Do you wish to make any comments on the application tonight? Maybe you could tell me how you pronounce your last name so I don't butcher it too badly.
sure. It's Giesbrecht. Just that we've taken 2 very small lots, cottage style lots, and combined them. And we're just trying to put an appropriate sized house based on that on the lots here. Whereas many of the other newer properties in the area have also done the same thing, where the 2 of these small cottage style lots have become one. So, and the height variance, it is a cottage style roof, so meaning all the roof comes to a peak in the center of the house. There's no side gables, so the height variance is only in the very center of the lot.
Okay, thank you. David, do you have any questions of the applicant tonight?
No, I do not, Madam Chair.
And Terry, do you have any questions of the applicant?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Nor do I. Seeing as there's nobody in the audience, poll, I don't think so, right? So we'll consider the public hearing portion closed, and I will now ask members to express their views. I'll start with Terry.
I'll be voting in favor, Madam Chair. The increase in the roof, it's only the portion since it's a hip roof or a cottage roof. Massing, any type of massing issues would be minimized. It meets the 4 tests, and it shouldn't negatively affect any of the adjacent properties.
Thank you. And David?
I agree with Terry's comments. I'm also going to be in favor of this minor variance this evening. It's minor in nature and it meets the 4 tests.
I'll now entertain a motion. I don't think there's any conditions applicable on these applications.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, that minor variance file A5821 be approved based on all oral and written submissions heard tonight.
May I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor? The motion is carried. Your application has been approved. Notice of the committee's decision. The decision will become final so long as no appeals are received within 20 days of the notice. Thank you for attending tonight.
Okay. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Bye.
So may I ask for a motion from the committee to process the signing of the decisions concurred by the majority of members electronically?
So moved.
Motion forward.
Sorry,
Um,
that's a motion. Oh,
Yeah, Terry Moore motioned and Dave seconded it.
okay, thank you. There being no further corrections to the minutes and approved as circulated. Is there any other business?
No other business, Madam Chair, through me.
Just a quick question. I changed my microphone. Is it easier?
Now it's worse again.
Worse?
I had some crazy feedback for a while. That
Yeah,
was,
I think
I
that's
don't know
my
what, I don't know
Kenzie.
what that was.
I think it's like, oh, there was, Richard had the YouTube movie going on. So we can't have,
Oh.
so we're still on YouTube, but if anybody has that playing in the background, the feedback, that's what we always ask. So just quiet
Okay, I wonder
your
what that was.
audio. Okay, so
So the next hearing is October 21st?
that's correct.